Okay, this glued together really nice. This part of the seam we don't have to worry about because it'll get covered. So everything's looking good. This is going to be a pretty nice size ship once you add that back end onto it. But been doing a little work. I was thinking about what I'm going to use to hold my bulbs up, and I was just like, you know what? I could reprint this grill and make it a hair bigger and make it a hair smaller in height. And then that way, where I drill these holes are going to be pretty close to the corrugation where I want them to kind of be here, because we're going to do 4, which would be 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 there. So I can actually copy it on here, and it should give me the ability. And I made it thin enough that a 5mm bulb can pop through. We'll cut the dome off, so it'll give us a better spread. But then I see, if you see in here, it actually gets wider because this gets wider, but still keeps that kind of shape. So I made it a little bigger so it gets stuck a little far back, so it gives us a little distance between the actual engine grill and these bulbs. So it'll fit in there kind of like that. And then I'm going to make, I already designed it, just got to print it, but I figure I'd wait and print all the clears. So I just made a, 3mm thick outline of this for a clear part to go over top, to go on the back of here. And then being that it's going to be filament printed and on a texture build plate, it'll actually, you won't even have to scuff it really like you do with like actual clear parts to get it to diffuse the light, and actually makes it spread a little longer and you won't see any hot spots. And if not, we do have enough room that we could do some fiber fill or something in there too, but I don't think we'll have to. We'll try it, but before we glue this on. But I think just that and the clear part, it works fine. Worked great on the Soka ship. But I think that's going to take care of the back engine. I just haven't printed the wing parts that have the wing engines. So I couldn't make the wing engine clear parts yet. So that's why I didn't print that clear yet. So what should we do here? As far as wiring, we do have that wire there set and ready. And I just coiled it up in here. These wires for the wings, I can just stick through that hole. That's going to bring it right in there, so I don't have to run any tails. I can run the wiring through the wing and just leave a tail long enough to come up and come out. Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be a bad idea to get this drilled, get the bulbs in there, get it started wired, and then we can get the wire stuck through this hole and in here and glue this on. So let's start marking this out. I think we decided on doing, if I look at this one, I was kind of making little pen marks. We want to come 4 up. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then bam. So we'll put 1 here. And we'll do the same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, bam. So if you're here, I need a marker so I can, pencil probably work better. See on black. Or do we do 3 and then the 4th one's where it goes? That might be the better distance. So then it gets these over here. And like I said, this, I'm going to use 2 flickering bulbs and 2 regular bulbs. And what I'll do is I'll make these 2 inner ones flickering, and then this one control that one, and this one control that one. That way there's not 2 flickering the same, like half the engine's flickering the same than the other. You could do that. That's not totally, wouldn't be totally weird. Where this side engine kind of doing the same thing. But since these were a bunch of little cells, they're probably like a bunch of little engines. And having them flicker kind of a little bit different. And the spillover, since the bulbs are going to be back here, it's going to kind of blend. but at least give your eyes some weirdness going on, like in 4 different places, even though 2 of them are the same, you know? So we'll try that. It worked on other things I've done. So we should probably punch these so we don't have a crawling. And I can use this detail here as a center, so we're gonna go here. I wonder if I should almost just cut that part out so I have a flatter surface for the to drill. And there. Probably should use this to get a starter. Even if it's just a little bump, we don't have to drill all the way through. Just because I'm probably going to use my step drill and it doesn't have a small print for these little punches. That mark I just made. But if I drilled out a hair more with this, it does. And I think that's the other reason why I wanted to use this part, because it gives me the alignment, up and down, and as you're actually looking at the grill instead of just a flat plastic in that shape. Really see they built those little humps and they melt together. So we're gonna have to do the old cutaroo. You're digging in. There we go. You're digging a little too hard. We just need to get rid of the all that extra plastic. Now, will these slide through? Oh, beautiful. And here's one I already actually have ground off. So that gives me a double test. And there we go. And they'll stick in there pretty nice. And then we'll have lights like that, but flickering. And like I always say, this might not be bright enough or it might not be dark enough in here. When you cut that dome off, you get a wider spread where normally you would see almost a circle where it's focusing the light. That dome is actually there for a purpose. Now, maybe I can just use some whites because I don't believe the only blue flickering ones I have are 3 mils. Yeah. But I do have all these white ones. So we need 2 of these. And I'm going to work at them separate from working on, and I think these are a cool white. Yeah, they already have like a bluish kind of tint to them anyway. And there's the flicker. Sure. Or pulse. So I just got to make sure I get the same clear ones out of here. I don't know if I just try to sand them or I use the grinding wheel, cut wheel. Seems that's what I always use, is a cut wheel. I think it works a little faster than trying to grind them. Especially these 5s, they got a pretty good dome. Take them and cut them off. Now I might use that to square it off a little bit. And it's okay to do that as long as you don't hit the filament inside and expose that to air. Then it will blow. Perfect. This thing here was such a good purchase. Cheap old thing off of eBay. Not like I'm doing heavy sanding, and then you got a polish wheel, and then I have a grinding wheel here that can go on this side. It's a cool tool, and you can adjust this to angles, and it works great. And they're fitting in there nice and snug. So we can have these the same direction as far as the negative and the positive. And then see those will sit back, and then they'll sit I think about here to give us enough room that they have space to widen their beams. But can you see like how that made a dot down here? Where can I find that flat one again? Yeah. Now watch. This one should be wider. Yeah, it's not even giving you that point until you get like down there. Where this battery's probably dying too. Even all the way up to here, I still see a focused point. Even up that high, you kind of can. Where I have it set so it dissipates. And we'll keep everything the same, positive on the same side to help. Now, if I was going to join these two, I would put the negative on this side and just have it. It would probably be able to just bend over and just these prongs, just bend them over and have them touch. You don't even need to run a wire. There we go. Yeah, they're sticking out enough that we're getting some side things going on. It's not all just that little spot there, so that's perfect. And again, let's take my red marker so I don't forget. Okay, got these soldered up. Let me zoom you all in. So what we got going on here is power's coming through this red, and then it's hitting these two resistors, which are taking care of two bulbs. So I calculate it for series. Feeds power in here, lights this light up, comes out this negative, comes up this red wire, and then feeds this one. That's why I kept it red. And then this one will flicker the same way as this one will. And then the negative, and vice versa the same way. This one goes here and then feeds the positive here, and the negative comes and feeds this positive. And then what I did is I just jumpered the negatives, boom, over to this one, and then here's our tail. Hey, there we go. And see how now they don't look like it's two of them doing the same thing with so much going on, where technically this one and that one are flickering the same. Like if you watch, those are flickering the same. And then these two are flickering the same. But with all that, with everything going on, a little bit when it gets in that pattern, but I mean, we could have had them all pulsate, but I wanted to kind of simulate, and then hopefully, once the clear plastic picks up all that light too, it'll kind of get rid of the because you're actually seeing the direct bulb, where the plastic will kind of glow. Like even this one bulb should glow plastic, you know, a little larger than where it's at. So we'll try it, see how it works. But it works most of the time, so I don't see why it wouldn't there. So my soldering is good. So we're okay on that. So we can actually glue this in. And we should be all right then. Yeah, and that's how she'll sit in there. Yeah, and I got, where's the actual grill? Oh yeah, we got a good about top finger length, so that gives some good distance for it to spread out once this is in there. This you got to kind of put in like that. There you go. Yeah, that's gonna be nice. But let's see if I gave enough. I should have. We can actually technically glue this back end on. Let's do this. Oh yeah, plenty of wire. So another thing, I'm kind of liking these all being twisted up. If you can keep these two ends separated, it helps you twist them. Then you can grab both at the same time and get it instead of them just slipping in your hand. There we go. That's good enough. I just want to not have two wires doing weird stuff. There, I like that. I'm going to leave that alone. Burl some epoxy in there. Then I'll back the rest of it up with some Gorilla Glue. But at least want a couple good tack areas. That worked pretty good. We'll get a little bit of this Gorilla Glue. Tack some areas there. All right, we'll let that kind of cure. I don't know what I should do back here. I'm a little worried about like light bleeding. Although this seam, if there is any, I can hit with tulip anyway, so I guess that really wouldn't be an issue. I'll use the black tulip; it'll light block it anyway. Not much really would make it. You know, it only has that hole there. What do we got going on here though? We could get light in these areas. It starts glowing a little bit in here. It's not a complete big deal because this is going to be completely closed on that end. And yeah, this gets a plug, and then the gun turret, I mean, there's doors here that close. Yes, I'm not really worried about there. These two, I don't want it to blow light in there. I wonder if I take a little bit of my black staging tape, tuck it in there, kind of cut it just about to fit. That might be the best way to handle that. I could either do something like this. I don't know if I can see the outline then. Get it to cut exactly. This blade's still sharp enough. That's great. Or I just try to trace it with a marker or something, and then cut it with scissors. But again, trying to draw on black unless you have a white marker. Even pencils aren't doing it anymore. Usually you can see a little bit of lead. That gives me enough, I think. We just need to cover those two big holes there. Unless I can go in there and piece it. Probably could do that too. Because it's just two little spots that really need to be covered. Don't really need to get overly intricate like this. But since we cut this one out, let's see if we can get it to stick in there. Try to move it. Need a poker. There we go. Yeah, that worked good. But I think we can block. Let's see. Does it make a difference? Yeah, it's really just got to cover that slot. I think I can probably do that just with. Let's do it. It's wide enough all the way. We take this one. Cut this angle off. Get rid of that. There we go. And this stage shape, once it's down, it's hard to get up. That's why I like it. It works good for anything you want permanently taped. Because when we used to tape wires down on the stage, it would hold it. So it tapes the carpet. It does, you know, and it's sometimes a real pain to get up. Okay, let's get this on. I got epoxy on there. Ooh, I should get some. There is plenty on here. Other side of here. Everyone asks if it's super warm, and it's not. It's all latch netting in there. It's super breathable. In fact, here we go. Let me get some on that part that comes over. So we'll try to get you in there. Good. There we go. It's important to do the feet because we're going to wear my arms. We get hair all over the way, and it's hard to actually do it. There we go. That went together nice. Oh, we look beautiful up top, like really good, which is the best place to have it really good. I let that cure a little bit back there, but I figured it's a good time to get this on. There we go. And let's do the same down here. We just get one good one. It's not as tacky. There we go. Sweet. And just stick down there, and we can tell by which direction. Normally, I put tags on there to know what, but we got a lot of wiring. We know the one's going up there is going to the cockpit. We know the one coming back here is coming for the engines, and we know the ones, so it's fairly easy to tell what's what. And they're all going to come on at the same time. I'm not going to have. Although, now because I had the engine, unless I run two leads out because I want to do the lasers, and it would be neat to have a switch for those. Yeah, because I'm going to want to leave those bulbs with a dome, so what I'm afraid of is when they're sitting in the compartment, they might try to. They'll be sitting there beaming one way in that compartment and blowing that whole cylinder that they rest in. Yeah, that's something I didn't think about. So we might run in. Actually, we won't need to run two pair. We'll run a red to black, and then we'll run a blue or a yellow wire for the laser. Okay, got the. I think this is the left wing. We got this one glued together, so we can figure out how to do these engine pieces. These are going to be kind of something we're going to want to glue last, I think, because I still got to clean this up, and I still got to design the clear part. We could always shoot the wire through and just bring it out to here. And when we glue these pieces on, we'll slide it through and then glue this down. So we can hold off on that. That's okay. I do have this tunnel printed, so we can actually get that on, and then we could really start priming it and getting this up and ready. Oh, I did think of while I'm doing this, I did think of something new. Sorry, the printer's doing its calibration. I just noticed. I don't know why I didn't pay attention to this before. That's that's a hole they have for a post, so we won't have to put it on the hatch, which is kind of good. Then how we get wires in here, since we're gonna run ours through um, the base. Because a lot of times, I don't have a coin battery thing that'll, especially to do 6 volts, that'll fit in there. Like even those double. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I clean that, it might slide in there. Maybe. But still, I'd like to have the ability to have it plugged in. So, what I'm thinking is, because I can take there is that tunnel coming from up here. And I think it kind of does here. And it was hard to see what these hollow pieces, how they are. But I can go in here and I can actually, in that tunnel, stick that quite like that. Which if you didn't do that. So I'm going to have to drill this a little deeper because what I'm thinking, so there is that tunnel here that I could probably get to. I'm going to have to drill this a little deeper because what I want to do is inset that 1/8" jack, stereo jack down in there. And it's almost about the right size. Yeah. You know what else? Because there's another plate that goes on here. Do I do something as simple as neat as make this go all the way down here because we got plenty of model space? Do I make that go flush with this? And then I have plates. They give you a plate if you're not going to use a stand. That's completely no hole. Or they give you one that continues this hole. So you have this one which will continue your post hole. Or if you're always going to have it on a stand or whatever, you can just cover it up with that. I wonder if I make this go all the way down and then I can always place this cover over it if you want to cover this jack. That might be a neat idea. I'm trying to think, is it really worth, because how much am I really going to care if I flip this over? And of course this one will be in there otherwise. Can we clean it up quick and get it to fit? Or is it really going to be a big deal if we see a little jack? I'm not going to do the thread. We'll just bond that way down, right down in there. So, you know, and then we'll make sure it's sitting on something so it'll hold the weight of it. Because the other reason why I want to use there is that's center ship. That's where you got the best balance. It's kind of hard because your hands are soft, so. But that's kind of where you have semi the best balance. Now it's going to act rear heavy, but because yeah, if you put it back here, it's definitely going to be nose heavy, and that'll be a lot of stress leaning this way. And so I think that, or you know, like I said, if I bury this deep enough, I can always slide this cap over top. But what we're getting at is if I bury that in there, I'll have to drill this a hair wider and deeper to get it down in there. I think I might just make it. That brim's so tough. Like, seriously. Of course, I changed from a number 11 blade one day here because I was doing a lot. But we, you know, I want to kind of have it sit like that. And that's all you're going to see. But like I said, I have to drill down a little bit. And then if I can get over with a little angle. And I'll do that before we put this on. So if I do any boogering up, this will make it look nice. So that's kind of neat. And then on the other end, I was thinking, well, how do I get the jack to attach? Well, look, a regular old brass rod with these 1/4 inch, it fits right inside. If I pull the spring out, if you open this up, and I pull the spring out, I can slide a brass tube into it. And I can make that connect that way. And you can actually solder it because there's a piece of solder on the brass. So I could solder this end and then epoxy the heck out of down there. And then what we'll do is we'll cut this ground a little shorter because then that'll allow more of the tube to go up inside here. And I think that's what we're going to do. I think that'll work. I think that's a valid try. And then all we do is snap, and then there's our connection. So I think that's what we're going to try. Worth the try on these smaller ships. This might be a good way to do them. Yeah, I couldn't believe that fits right in there. That was like, I didn't even have to drill it out or anything. I just took a little scrap piece and slid it right in there. So that will look like that. The key is getting this down there and held. Well, we'll figure all that out. We're jumping ahead, but sometimes you have to plan what you're going to do because you need to prep stuff for it beforehand. And being that this is a new model, and you know the instructions are good, but still you can't. He wasn't setting this up for. They were thinking battery, so we have to kind of customize some stuff. But I think that'll work because I would like to have, you know, or yeah, I think that's better. This here is just, it's not a good center point. That is a better center point because I could have just kept doing what I was doing and put the blank on there and be fine. But I think it's worth doing that, and then this can be, you know, or you could just run the pipe up through here into here, drill a small hole to get the wires to come out here, and then you can always open this up to turn a switch on if you want to do that way or whatever. But I think that's the way I want to go. So I'm going to start, I think we'll get this glued down because we can actually, once we do that, I believe because I'm waiting on this because I think that's easier to get the interior on. But this won't hurt being on. The next piece I won't want to put on in the canopy, not yet, because we got to get things in there. But I want to hand paint them and not have to try to do it holding the big ship, all the controls and stuff. And I still got to figure out how we're going to do the consoles, because that's what I want to light up is the consoles. Probably going to print them in a clear and then paint them black to light block them, and then just scratch off buttons that I want to glow in the monitors. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. But that, I think that's going to work doing that. That's awesome that this 1/8 inch fits in there. And then I'm going to build the other wing, and then I'll start building the cylinders, and then we'll come back and connect all those and get wires through. And like I said, we can always, at this point, since my printer's being used, I didn't think about wanting to get that clear part done. Well, I could actually even glue these pieces on. I just don't have to squish this in. That, because I'm going to want to I have to do my light, get the bulbs in here and do all that, and then paint this, because we don't want to paint all this with the clear part in. So then we'll paint the grills, paint this, then attach the clear part, and then glue this down. Or I can even glue this down and paint all this and then put the clear part in there and then close it up. That's probably what we're going to do. So yeah, we could probably really get wires through and have it sticking out here. Yeah, that would be the best way. And just save the actual engine for later. Now, we got our wings glued. I don't know if I mentioned I got this piece in there. That way when we paint, it's all together. I'm going to leave out this piece and the canopy because we got to do cockpit things. So, and that's okay. Underneath, everything's looking good. Printing some more stuff. But I'm thinking with this complex of a thing going on here, this is the left wing. So this is this wing. I think it's best to get the wires going through. So I could probably do it. I could actually even hold off because I was going to do all that now that I'm thinking about it. Because I really want to start building these cylinders here. The actual hinge cylinders. And what I was thinking before is getting at least this piece here on, and just running the wire through before I glue it on. But now that I'm actually thinking about, now that I was messing around with stuff here, it's so much easier to, because there's a compound kind of thing going on. These kind of, if I glue these, it's hard to get, there's an angle like this, and then there's an angle like that. So it's much easier if I do that and actually take this, or really, because you can see there's a camera's not really gonna, you can see how there's an actual indent in the paneling for this to come up to. This gives us a good angle for this. So probably what I'll do is once I get all these pieces together and actually get the clear part printed, then we'll glue these together like that, and that'll give us the correct angle of everything. Because I can actually squeeze there with a clamp and then get this edge here glued, and then glue all this on later, because then it actually kind of tilts down a little bit. So I think that's the best way, is just hold off on that whole end there. But what we can do is I can start working on these cylinders and running the wires through and kind of guesstimate, and then we'll have it come out and just come out this hole, and I can just guess, it comes to about, I'll make the wires come out here. And then I can just slide the wire through the hole and bring it out here. So it comes out this little trench. And then we can glue this piece on while it's all attached. But the other problem is, oh, yeah, now I got to think, yeah, because I got to get in here and actually do these bulbs. Well, I don't have to glue this down when that's true. That's what I was thinking. Once I get these two wing pieces glued together, I can just actually use this to give it the shape it needs to be, and just glue this edge here and get it the shape. Then I can glue this on. But if I leave enough wire like out to here, then I can slide the wire through and leave it there. And then we have a tail coming out of here. That's what I was thinking. And we'll leave this off, but I can use this for basically a jig to get these to sit right. I mean, you could kind of do that, but I think having it mold tight with the part would be better. And then I notched all this out. Here's the one that's actually printed. But I think it's easier to get a bulb. In order to get the bulbs going, shining out. Like I say, I could use glue. I could, but I want these to flicker. That's why. But you could use a thing of strip tape. Have it blasting at this part and just hit this with silver, and it would bounce the light around, and you'd be fine. But since I want a flickering bulbs, I need them to. I much rather have them facing out. I mean, I could do the same thing, but I could do the same thing like this. I could have had one here, something, or even just one. But I think this is going to be giving me the best effect. And I made it so this bulb will cut the length, of course. But I made it so that bulb can sit in there like that. And we'll just chop it. And then the other one can sit right there. And we'll just bring, and then we'll feed it over to this one in a series. All right. Got some glue on here. So I'm going to do that. What I was thinking. Do that. And then that. Oh. Hope if I pay attention to what I'm doing here, Kevin. Now, how do we get a clamp there without losing my grip on everything here? You gotta try to hold two little parts. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. You gotta stay there. I wonder if I can tape a little piece of tape. That way I'm not so concentrating on holding that in position. Yeah, that makes it easier. Nope, we're off. We're off. Come on, you. Make sure I have enough. Got plenty of glue here, so I don't want to glue that part down yet. Just using it as a jig. There we go. Make sure we're all lined up good. I don't know if that's a better place to hold it. I think so. This is supposed to be a level edge. And we could always sand that too to make it nice and level there. But do we look good out here? Yep, I'm liking that. Now we'll let that sit. And that way, like I said, we can glue that like that. And that'll be much easier. So set you aside. No, put you up here. And then I went and just grabbed this side and cleaned them up. We'll do the same thing. That little tape thing helped. So let's do that again. This one's wanting to hold together a lot better than the other one. And like I said, just to keep this end from wanting to do anything weird. Oh, it's clamping is on the other side. It's more towards the back of it. That will keep this from. That'll keep that from doing this. Yeah, that's nice. All right, well, let them secure. Yeah, that's going to be the best way is have it as one piece. And like I said, we can just have the wire come out